So you're speaking to me right now with a bullet still in your head.
Pretty badass, right?
Wow. How many times were you shot?
7. I was shot 3 times in the head. They told my family not to expect anything. Yeah, I was dead.
All right, everyone listening and watching, we are here with none other than the one and only Stephen Haskins. I am a filmmaker slash podcaster, and I've been on a major spiritual journey in the past 4 years, and me and this man's paths collided. How long ago now? Probably 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
9-10 months after I was shot.
There you go. So
and I was like disfigured.
Yeah.
Me.
Exactly. So me and this guy, I was in the process of making kind of like a documentary kind of oriented promotional video for a veterans a charity that helps veterans, and I ran into Stefan and interviewed him, and his story blew me away so much that again, as a filmmaker, I'm like, I got to know this guy more, and as a spiritual person, I'm like, I really got to know this guy more, because his story of spirituality and growth, I'll put it to you this way: life consists of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And Stefan is basically the Odysseus of physical, mental, and spiritual, based on the amount of trauma and recovery and healing he's had to go through in all three realms. So that's my introduction to Stefan. Other than to say, we have a video out about his. It's part of the documentary I was making. We have a video out about the beginning of this story of his spiritual transformation and physical transformation. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, we're going to put the link in the description. Please go watch it. But this is going to be an expansion onto that. And so we're going to skip past a huge introduction, other than to say that, it goes without saying that Stefan was in the military. He was in the U.S. Army and was deployed to Iraq. And he experienced severe trauma that led to PTSD, severe PTSD, and flashbacks, severe flashbacks. And we will get into the details of that kind of stuff in other episodes, but right now we're going to dive into the flashback of all flashbacks that led to, there's no easy way to say this, led to Stefan getting shot and killed. And then the rest you will hear about. So let's start there. Stefan, I know this may be emotionally traumatizing to revisit this night, because, you died. Again, there's no easy way to say this. Talk us through the night that you died.
Today's 3 years from the day the day I was shot 7 times.
So this is the day today.
December 29th, 2021.
Wow.
The night, how do you want me to kind of...
Yeah, let's start with as you're going to sleep that night. Was it just a normal night kind of thing?
Okay. Good question. So it was a normal night for that time period of my life. It was another depressing, lonely, and I had recently stopped taking medication, all my medication. Like, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped taking prescription drugs that were prescribed to me and not prescribed to me. I stopped all the prescription drugs.
Wow.
I needed to clean my body and my mind.
Yeah.
I want to say that there was a lot of things. I could tell you 15 different things that could have sparked what happened that night. Nightmare, fireworks, lack of psychiatric medication.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that could have, but one thing is that it had to happen. You know what I'm saying? It had to happen because I was at that mark where I was going to kill myself. I was going to take my life. And then, that night happened, and it forever changed everything, man. It didn't only change my life. I pray every day that if my story could change one life, right? I'm sure you do the same thing. If I can change one life, during my lifetime, then I accomplished everything I wanted. Uh,
So, so you mentioned that there were fireworks going off. You were having a nightmare in that moment,
mhm.
and you basically woke up into your nightmare. Correct me if I'm wrong, and then expand upon
That's
this, please.
yeah, yeah. So I don't think fireworks should always kind of I would avoid going to fireworks show, but at the same time, it didn't bother me like that because I understood it's Fourth of July, there's fireworks and stuff. I had never like hit the ground and been like, oh my god, like until coming out of this dream where I wasn't fully awake yet. My dog, whom hated fireworks more than I did, um, almost waking me up. I was sleeping on my couch. I remember waking up, kind of, and just being in full fight or flight, where I always slept next to my gun. I always had a gun next to me, and um, grabbing my gun, knowing my life is in danger, knowing Zeus, my dog's life is in danger, and figuring out how to eliminate the threat without harming anybody. And I didn't know who found out where I lived, why they were coming to kill me.
Hmm.
I remember seeing dudes in fatigues, not U.S. fatigues, but I remember seeing these dudes in fatigues. I thought I saw two guys come through my bedroom window, and that was one of the scariest uh, moments. And I knew where I was. I didn't know who was converging. And when I'm talking about converging, I felt like it was a force of like 50 plus. That's what it.
Yeah.
All the
Wow.
colors, the tracer rounds. It was so scary, dude. Like it was scarier than real combat because real combat, you know where to shoot
Yep.
and who to shoot.
Yep.
I couldn't make out a silhouette to save my life, but I saw the silhouettes. But man, it was a terrible experience, and yeah, that's where I woke up into. I woke up into that experience, and it was okay. I'm probably gonna die tonight, but Zeus ain't gonna die, and I'll die to make sure Zeus lives through the night. And
Wow.
I, yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
So
Um,
pure bedlam. It sounds like, in confusion and chaos. Like you, it sounds like that the enemy is seems like they're converging in all directions. And you mentioned tracer rounds.
yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing the rounds coming at me. I flipped a marble table, flipped it up. I had hid behind that for a few minutes. I don't know how long before army crawling into the bathroom. If this is the bathroom door, I was like leaning down like this and just looking around.
Yeah.
So I remember hearing somebody walking above me. Thank God it turned out later that the person that lived above me wasn't home that night, so there was nobody above me.
Hmm.
But I thought I heard them coming through my bathroom vent, like opening the vent and sliding down, like we're gonna get him because he's barricaded himself in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like was laying down and I shot like up into the vent like one or two rounds and then into the baseboard, like like I said, like going around and like boom boom boom. I had ran out of ammunition. I don't know how many I don't even remember how many rounds that gun held. I remember I wrapped it being in the bathroom, being I'm in the bathroom, obviously I get under the sink and I grab a towel, I wrap the towel around my head. I had a cheap pair of sunglasses. I had those I had the sunglasses on, and the reason for this was I was awaiting an incoming flashbang, so I thought sunglasses might help me. Um, and I was waiting to be gassed. I thought that there was any moment now gas canisters are going to come to the door, and so I had my face wrapped. I had sunglasses. It sounds like it's crazy. It is. It sounds like a really scary situation.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's important to point out to people that again may think to yourself, oh, this there's no way he could have been seeing or thinking this. Let me tell you from my own personal experience. I've done a lot of kind of experimentation in the what they call the hypnagogic state of sleep. There's a lot of insight that you can gain spiritually and stuff in that penumbra of consciousness between sleep and awake. And if you do wake up and from a dream or something like that, They're literally will I say literally, but your brain doesn't know any different. To you and your
Hmm.
brain, it is literal. You can see things that aren't there that quote unquote aren't there physically. You can legitimately see things and think that they are real, and if that experience is prolonged, you will be stuck in a nightmare, just like Stefan is describing, seeing things like tracer rounds and it's a terrifying. Anyone who's had sleep paralysis or anything like that, you can attest to this. So basically, imagine a sleep paralysis nightmarish situation extended, and of course you're able to move. Right? It's not you're not paralyzed in your bed, but people, there's countless people out there who have seen stuff like this. Just imagine being in an experience that's prolonged and you're in a fight for your life. And so Stefan at this point has fired off every round in his gun to ward off the enemy, and he's holed up in his bathroom, at the mercy of his enemy, waiting to die, basically,
Yeah.
with a towel around his head, praying for the best, with his dog next to him. And so this sounds like just a terrifying, like you're waiting to die kind of situation, and so you are. Well, you've been in fight or flight this whole time, but
Hmm.
what precipitated you to say I'm going to make a run for it and get out of the restroom? Didn't you hear the cops show up and you were,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the last thing I remember. It's the last thing I remember, but until I'm like looking down on myself was sirens. I remember hearing sirens. See, I was yelling, um, you know, don't just please let Zeus live. Please let Zeus live. Just I deserve to die. Like I know I deserved it. I felt that way about myself
mm-hmm,
then. I deserve to die, but Zeus, he doesn't deserve to die. Like if you
yep,
come for me, here we go. Let's drop the gun. Let's get it over with. But let my dog get out of here first. By the time I had heard the sirens, Zeus had already jumped. I lived on first floor, so I had my bedroom window open and the screen there. And he's a big dog. Um, jumped through the screen, and Zeus went to go get help. He went up to my neighbor upstairs, who subsequently called the police. I was alone in my bathroom for 7-8 minutes,
hmm.
unknowingly, and they called the police. Said, "Hey." Because people didn't know there's fireworks going off. They don't know if this is gunshots or is that fireworks or is it part of the show.
Yeah.
Um, and my neighbor, they heard me screaming for help, and a few 911 calls went in, like, hey, and I had been there for quite a few years, so my neighbors knew that I was a combat veteran. And though I never had an incident like this, they were first, real quick to tell the cops he's a really good guy, he's a nice guy, he's yelling for help, something's wrong, something's not right. And anyway, I'm in my bathroom, I'm leaning up against my wall, I have my gun in my hand for show at this point, in case this fictitious enemy were to come in. Maybe I'd throw it at
Yeah, yeah.
him.
Or they may think it's still loaded and you're like, back up,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
back up,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I remember hearing the sirens, and then I all of a sudden, I'm looking down, and I see my body laying on the ground, and I see a lot of lights. Um, I saw these cops over top of me trying to bring me back, and
Oh, because you had a lapse in memory. That's the last thing you remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is running out of the bathroom, and then next thing you remember is floating above
I
your
don't
body.
remember running out of the bathroom. I
Oh,
remember
wow.
in my mind I said, "Here I go." Right in
Uh
my
huh.
mind, I'm like, "All right, I hear the police are here to help me. Why else would they be there?" So in my mind, it was, "Oh my God, help's arrived," because it felt like it had been hours,
Yeah.
and that's then it goes black. And what I did, and thank God for body cam. Body cam kept me out of prison, because initially it was my word against their word, and I didn't have a word because I had a trachea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
anyway, I ran out, and I only know this because of all the body cam. I have hundreds of hours of body cam. So I ran out, and there was cops coming in from the end of the complex, and It was like the street was like linear. Would go down by my house. I ran out, and I guess obviously I don't guess. I still have my gun in my hand now, albeit it was empty. Nobody knew that except myself. So um, I don't and I remember. Well, you kind of see in the videos, like I'm running and I'm like help, help, but there's people chasing me now. You got
Yeah.
the body cam that everybody has seen already, that was all over the news. That muff was chasing me. I didn't know who all these people were. Hey, motherfucker, drop your gun! Like
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
people are yelling cuss words at me and being real mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can't be a good guy. But anyway, like I said, I don't remember it. But by piecing the body cam together, I guess I ran up to the cop, like, help, help. And the cop was like, drop your gun. And when he did that, I guess I had realized in that moment, like, oh shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a car was on that little back road, had stopped right in front of the police. That car, I believe he thought he was getting pulled over. So when the cop was like, freeze, I was right next to this car. So when he did that, I opened that car door, right, and I dove head first across. I didn't like sit on the dude's lap like, all right, we're going for a ride, buddy. I dove across to because if you're, it don't matter who you are or how what you say right now or what you believe. When you're about to die, you're gonna do what you gotta do,
Yep.
not to risk anybody else's life, but to save your own.
Yep.
And when I dove across this dude's lap, right, like my head is like on the passenger seat, like I'm like across this dude. This guy, the poor guy, like 18 years old, gets out of the car immediately and runs. And you'll see him in the video. You'll hear, "Don't shoot, crossfire, crossfire," as the cop goes like this. Now that's the driver of the vehicle running.
Gotcha.
They ended up tackling him and held him at gunpoint. Got all those videos too. They actually thought he was an accomplice.
Ah.
And it wasn't until a few hours later that he was actually released from cuffs. But it's actually kind of funny because just around the same time he was being released from handcuffs, the chief of police for Orlando Police Department was on scene giving a press conference about how they shot me to protect the driver of the vehicle, whom was still in the vehicle at the time that they shot me.
Wow.
The same guy that they had guns to his head, and
Yeah.
But if you watch the video, you'll see this guy goes. You'll hear crossfire, crossfire. He's got his gun on the driver. Then he sees me, lines up. As soon as his hand steadies, he starts shooting. Once he starts shooting, everybody starts shooting. And as you can see, I was never supposed to move my shoulder again.
Yep.
I had 2 total reverse arthroplasties, so all titanium. We'll get.
Well,
Well,
I'm glad you're bringing. Sorry to cut you off, but before you get into your injuries, let's talk about some numbers here. How many rounds were fired at you?
Well, they said they picked up 55 rounds.
50. So 50.
55.
55 rounds.
55
how
rounds.
How many times were you shot?
7. I was shot 3 times in the head. So I was shot through the top of the head, went through the roof of my mouth, came out my throat. I was shot in the bottom, so down in this area of my neck. And this really did the most damage because it bounced around, right? And it took out both mandibles. And I ended up swallowing that bullet. And then the third bullet to the head came in from the back, so back in this area somewhere, and that bullet's still lodged in my cheek right now. I've got a hollow point 9mm bullet, like right here.
Wow.
And they're worried about like the optic nerve, like if they remove that, they could damage the optic nerve. But
so you're speaking to me right now with a bullet still in your head.
Pretty badass, right?
Wow. That's a.
What do you think? What do you think they think when I like go through like security at the airport?
I know, right? Sir, what is this? It's a bullet in my head, ma'am. I have a bullet in my head.
Oh my god! And then let's not forget that I also had 2 to the chest. Those were the killers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The 3 to the head. I mean, that's some severe brain injuries right
well,
there.
let's talk about that for a second, because any one of those three bullets that got shot in the head with, any one of those three bullets being just fractions of an inch off, and it would have been instant death.
Oh yeah.
None of this bleeding out kind of thing. It would have been like, hey,
Yeah, yeah.
you got a bullet through your corpus callosum or your brain stem or something like that, and
Hmm.
you're gone.
Yeah. My angel saved me that night. Well, I died. We talked about it. I was dead on the scene that night, so I was dead. They had used the chest tube, broke the chest tube, and then we'll get into the near death experience another time. But broke
Yeah,
the chest tube, and then I my lungs had filled with blood, so I drowned. So the bullet wound to the lungs is what really got me, what killed me. And then when I got to the hospital, I died. I was brought back when EMTs arrived 20 minutes later. Okay. And then when I get to the hospital, the first, I don't know how many hours, but say 12 to 24 hours. The first day, there was two more times that due to blood loss, right? I was just losing a massive amount of blood, so they were giving me blood transfusions, but I was dying, so he's not going to make it. They told my family not to expect anything out of it. Yeah, I was dead.